Perek Lamed Gimel. Now, I want to give you this Akdama, which I've given you already a few times. The way I'm teaching you these Parakim of Tanya is that the Alter Rebbe is discussing symptoms of the Neshama. When the Neshama emerges, you have clarity, like if you see a Lakus, you have Simcha, and you have Avas Yisrael. So the Alter Rebbe Perek Lamed Gimel. Oid Zois is another reason, another basis that Tihiyeh Simchas HaNefesh HaMitis, which can allow a person to create true joy in his soul. Another reason to Simcha. And later on page 84, Mem Beis Amud Beis, Alter Rebbe is going to get to the of Amunah. But now he's saying, here's another way to become a Simcha. Before we spoke about becoming a Simcha through giving yourself Musar, through making Nafsha, Mikir, and Gufam Tafel. Right? You say, Gashmi is not important, Ruchnius matters, it brings you Simcha, it brings you clarity, it brings you Avos Yisrael. Now he adds another Nakud. In other words, the way I'm going to say it to you is there's 2 points about Perek Lamed Gimel. The first point is that the weight of the soul is through his bonanus, through Chabad. In other words, before the weight of the soul was through being Nafsha, Mikir, and Gufam Tafel. Making the Guf, the Tafel, and Nafsha, Ikir. Now he says you get to the Neshama through his bonanus. And the second point is that when you get to the Neshama, what does the Neshama feel like? So in this Perek, he's going to describe it as an Infan Amunah. That's the Nikud of this Perek. So this is another way to create Simchas HaNefesh. In addition to the method before of Liyes Gufei Nivz of Animas Be'einav Raksim Chosei Tia Simchas HaNefesh Levada, which we had before. Ubefrat Kisharei Benafshei, especially when one sees Be'itim Bezumanim at fixed times, Shetzarech Lezachacha needs to refine it. Ulaha'ira, and to give light to it. Besimchas Levav, which will result in the joy of the heart. Azai, so the solution is, in addition to the earlier solution of Nafsha Mikir and Gufam Tafel, there's the solution of Yamek Machshavte, to delve deeper with your thought. V'yitzar, you should visualize, B'sichli u'binasi, in your Chochma and your Bina. Inyin, Yechude, Yizbarach Ha'amiti, the true concept of Achdas Hashem. Now I want to tell you a point. The Alter Rebbe is not going to discuss Achdas Hashem here, really. He's going to refer you to 2 other places where he discussed it. Number 1, earlier in the Tanya, Perek Chaf and Chaf Aleph, we had the discussion of Achdus, about the whole world is a word, and the word was never spoken, because Tzimtzum Shleikib Shute. Number 2, later in the Tanya, in Shari Yichad V'Amunah, Perek Gimel, he brings the mashal of the Eir Hashem, Ziv HaShemesh B'Shemesh. Here, the Rebbe doesn't go into Achdus. He says, you can look over there for the meditation. Here I'm talking about the act of meditating, that his abundance reveals the Neshama. Before we said you revealed the Neshama through Gufam Tafel and Nafsha Mikir, Gufay Nivza V'Nimas Be'einav and Simchas HaNefesh Levada, and now he speaks about a much more edel way, a much more sensitive way of revealing the Neshama through his abundance. In what do you think about Achdas Hashem? How? Hashem is revealed in all the worlds. The highest worlds and the lowest worlds. It's even revealed in this world, and it's filled with the honor of the Eibishter. And then a higher level, the Kula Kamei, everything compared to him is Kloch Shiv Mamish. Everything compared to him is nothing. Moreover, he's the one and the only one. Not only is he the one and the only one by himself, he's the one and the only one mamish, in the highest worlds and the lowest worlds mamish. Just as Hashem was alone before the 6 days of creation, and there was, before Hashem made the world, there was nothing. Now also there is still nothing. Achdas Hashem. V'gam, moreover, in this place where this world was created, the heaven and the earth and all of its host, that just like Hashem was the only thing that existed before the world was created. Filling up this space, says the Alter Rebbe, v'gamata kein. The same is true now also, that he is Lavada, he is alone. That any change whatsoever. Because not only are the worlds dependent upon Hashem, the worlds are Hashem. And that the Tzimtzum is Shalaikib Shutei. Hashem never concealed himself. All the creations are nullified in their form altogether. Gebittel, like the nullification. And now he brings you the dogma from Perek Chaf and Chaf Aleph, like the nothingness of Eisies, Hadiba, V'Amachshava, words that a person speaks and thinks. That when you speak, the words are separated from you. But before you spoke, when they're still b'mekein and v'sharsha, in their root and their source and their root, Humhusa Nefesh V'Atzmusa, which is the essence of the neshama, Shein Esa B'Chinasa, which is the 10 faculties, Chochma, Bina, Vadaz, V'Chuli. that before you speak, there are no words yet. Before they come down, in the garment of thought, and then later on in speech. As we discussed before. And what was the chiddush we had in Chav Chafalf? That Hashem now spoke. The world now exists. Hashem, after He speaks, is like before you spoke. Hashem spoke, so the world is separated from Him, but because the Tzimtzum Shleikim Shutei, the world is still one with Him, like before a word was spoken. This is the first mashal of Achdus. And the second mashal of Achdus, he continues, he brings from Shadi Yechad V'Amunah. We find another place of mashal for this. This is Shadi Yechad V'Amunah, very Gimel. Mashal Gashmili is a physical mashal for this. Right here you see a diuk. The Rebbe considers Machshav and Dibur Ruchtius. And Ziv HaShemesh B'Shemesh is Gashmius. Me'inyan, from the idea of Bittul Ziv, the nullification of the ray, the Eid HaShemesh, and the light of the sun, b'mekeidas, in its source, who guf kader HaShemesh shabrakir, which is the body of the globe of the sun, which is in the heavens. That shagam shom, that if the sun's light comes down to earth, alachas kama v'kama, in the sun itself, meir u'mispashit vaday. For sure, there's a revelation and an expansion of the sun's light. Zivei ve'oirei, the rays of the sun, and the light of the sun inside the sun. And in fact, inside the sun, it's ubiyasas eis, it has more power than mihis pashtusei v'ha'arosei b'chol, the way it expands and radiates in the hollow of the creation. If the light of the sun reaches us 93 million miles from the sun, in the sun itself, it's batal b'tachlis. Elo nava then, shesham, the way the light of the sun is inside the sun, ubatal b'metzias, it's nullified in its form, b'mekedi in its source. As though it doesn't exist at all, and on a higher level still, lavin and a hayden, it doesn't exist at all, mamish. Creation is one with the Eibishter, like the light of the sun is inside the sun. Just think of it in very simple terms. The sun is 93 million miles from the earth. The earth is 93 million miles away. What links the sun with the earth? The light. What happens if the whole universe is sun? The whole universe is sun. There's no outside and inside. Is there light? Of course there's light. Because if there would be space, the light would travel out of the sun. Because there's no space, the light has no place to go, doesn't mean there's no light, it just means the light is one with the source. Says the Rebbe, the Eibishter is the whole universe. So the Alter Rebbe says, here I'm being makatzer, but I'm telling you that in addition to the eitzah we had in the previous Peirik and the Prokim before, that if you want to reveal the neshama, the solution is liyes gufei nimas be'einav, rak simchasei tiyeh simchas hanefesh levada, right? Liyes nafsham ikir v'gufam tafel. When you make the neshama primary and the body secondary, that when you make the neshama the priority, so you have riyas alakus b'muchash, you have clear like as if you're seeing Hashem, you have simchas hanefesh, and you have avas Yisrael. Says the Alter Rebbe, another eitzah. Besides for that, it's posh to think about the Eibishter until the neshama will turn on. Gili and Nisham. The Kocha Mamish says Alter Rebbe. Similarly, Derech Moshe, we have an analogy, just like these two Mishalim of Eisis and Machshava Vadiba before a person speaks, and Ziv HaShemesh B'Shemesh before it left the sun, who Bitla Elam U'Malei. It's the nullification of the world and everything in it. B'Metzias in its form, the Rabbi Mekeda to its source, Shehu Eidin Sei Baruch Meshikaz Hashem Barichas, and it's explained Barichas in those two locations. Now, I have a Tzadach in Godel. Why are the two dots after the word Klal? The two dots after the word Barichas, and it simply reveals how little we have any idea what's written in the Sefer Tanya Kaddish. But until now, the Alter Rebbe gives you the eitzah. Another way to reveal the neshama is through his bonus. It's a chiddush nifler. Alter Rebbe says, think about Hashem reveals the neshama. Not only Simchas HaNefesh Nitzav and Aguf reveals the neshama. He says, it's Simchas HaNefesh Avad. His bonus reveals the neshama. And then we're going to say there's another expression to the neshama. That's going to be called the Amunah. But before he gets to that, he explains why you're so happy. What are you so happy about? So he thought about the Eibishter. He revealed the neshama, big deal. Says the Rebbe, nein, v'hine. When you do think about the Eibishter, and you develop Take Emunah, and you reveal the neshama, says the Rebbe, Yismach Libe. The Tag Nafsh is going to make you very happy. You're going to be glad and singing with your whole heart and your whole soul and all your might. Why? Because this Amunah is very, very great. And the word Amunah, Rabbi Yossi, means the experience of the godly soul. That's the result of this bodiness. Because when you experience your neshama, you know what that means? He kirvas alakim mamish. You are at that moment close to the Eibishter. And it gives you a meidenike simcha and a meidenike geschmack The thought that I could think about Hashem and bring Him into my heart, into my consciousness, I should feel the neshama. Says the Alter Rebbe now. The Alter Rebbe he calls it Sefer Lekut Emon. He's a malakit. He's malakit from the Kuntris called Kuntris Yudbeis Frukum Manachazal. The Alter Rebbe he gamet from there. V'zeh kol ha'adam. This is the entire purpose of the person. V'tachlis b'Yossi, and the purpose which it was created. Obriyas kol ha'elamis, and the creation of all the worlds. Al yenim v'tachtein, the higher worlds and the lower worlds. Liyes lay, that the Eibusha should have for himself dira zu, this home. V'tachtein in the lowest rung, which we're going to discuss later in Perek Lamed Hey and Perek Lav Lamed Zayin. When you do his abundance and reveal your neshama, you have made a home for the Eibishter b'tachtainim. What's tachtainim? Your mind. In Perek Lamed Hey Lamed Vav Lamed Zayin, the Alter Rebbe is going to say that tachtainim is the goof, and the Nefesh Bahamis, and the Levushim of Dibur and Maisa. Chitzainius elements. Here, what is Dibur b'tachtainim? When you think about Hashem and you reveal the neshama, you give yourself a munah. Dibur b'tachtainim is your brain is a tachten. When your brain is filled with the Eibishter, that's Dibur b'tachtainim. Pellet. Okay. Now, I want you guys to do me a favor quickly. Turn to page Memtes. Bottom of the page. 5 lines from the bottom. 4 lines from the bottom. Kizeh kol ha'adam. V'tachlis b'Yossi. V'nidasei le'elam hazeh. Liyas le'yis barach dira b'tachteinim davke. You should know that in Tanya there are v'zeh kol ha'adams. Perek Lamed Zayin, Perek Lamed Gimel, and Perek Yud Zayin. On page Chav Gimel Amar Aleph, we also had 5 lines from the top. V'zeh kol ha'adam. The one where the pasuk is from this. Lamed Gimel is the pasuk. In Perek Yud Zayin, v'zeh kol ha'adam meant just do mitzvah Kabbalah Seila. I don't care how you feel about it. Over here, v'zeh kol ha'adam means your brain. When you fill your brain with the Eibishter and you get a munah from it, that's dira b'tachteinim. Perek Lamed Zayin's v'zeh kol ha'adam is when you do physical Torah mitzvahs. The physical world becomes dira b'tachteinim. Now, I have a question for which I have no answer. Everybody knows that of all the Rabbeim, the Rebbe who kochs in action the most and in Gashmis is our Rebbe. When the Rebbe selected the Yudbeis Psukim Marech Hazal, can you tell me why he picked the v'zeh kol ha'adam in Perek Lamed Gimel as opposed to the v'zeh kol ha'adam in Perek Lamed Zayin? Because the v'zeh kol ha'adam in Perek Lamed Gimel, what's tachteinim? Tachteinim is a yid's brain. In Perek Lamed Zayin, what's tachteinim? A Gashmi is the kechefetz. It's a much lower tachteinim. And yet the Rebbe, when he made Yudbeis Psukim Marech Hazal, he could have picked the same. The Rebbe knew the Tanya. Don't worry, you didn't make a mistake. Why he picked? My question to you is why he picked this v'zeh kol ha'adam. I don't know what teretz. I'm just going to throw something out as a wrench. That Rebbe loves Torah, and this v'zeh kol ha'adam is Torah. That v'zeh kol ha'adam is mitzvahs. But I don't think it's a good answer. It's just stamazay to provoke the situation. Says the Rebbe v'hine. Just think about it in form of a mashal. How happy would an ordinary man and a low person be when he has a chance to be close to a king of the flesh? Hamis Askin, who's visiting his house, he's living together with him in his home. If a king came to your house, George Bush, and says, you know what, I want to move into Moshe Chaim's apartment in Empire, 675, you make some space. No, not 675, you moved. 701. Okay, you make space. Your mother's going to say there's no room. We'll manage. George Bush was you'll feel very flattered and honored. Says the Alter Rebbe, how much more so when you think about the proximity and the Eibishter living in the person's home. As the Pasuk says, who is this individual? I believe that has the brazenness, the chutzpah. Lagesh is like to approach me, no man Hashem, so speaks Eibishter. No one of the Shachas said Eibishter. And when a Yid does his bandanos, and he fills himself with the seichel of Elokus, and the amunah, the gili of the neshama which it brings, he is a host to Atzma Sein Sof. He is creating a dira b'tachteinim in his brain, and it gives the Yid gvaldik simcha. So first of all, our Perek says, you want to reveal the neshama. There's another eitzah besides the one of before of Musar. The eitzah is his bonus. Number 2, you reveal the neshama, and the revelation of the neshama is called the munah. And number 3, it gives you gvaldik simcha. What's the simcha? I have the Eibishter hosted in my seichel, and I am giving the Eibishter a kli and a moch and a place to sit and rest.